Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Here on Abby the Witch, we do tarot card readings, among other witchy alternative things. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. If you are new, hi, welcome. It's nice to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to be doing 5 baby witch tips from another baby witch today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so before we jump in immediately, I'm going to be doing my shout outs. So the first shout out I would love to do today is Eries. I think she pronounces it Eries or Eries, E-R-I-E-S, Witchcraft. Definitely has become one of my mentors for sure. She recently actually just interviewed me on her channel on a live stream. Was trying to post it on other places on my platforms, but I couldn't figure it out. So definitely wanted to shout her out. I already shouted her out on Instagram, but definitely wanted to shout her out here. Go give her some love. She is so cool. She's had so many different cool experiences with extraterrestrial, paranormal, deities. She is so cool and interesting. Please go show her some love. My second shout out is called Your Spiritual Mermaid. I don't believe she has a YouTube. I've tried finding her on YouTube. It seems like there's a couple of interviews that other people on their channels have done with her. She already has a pretty big following. She's only on Instagram, I believe. She already has a pretty big following, but definitely wanted to still shout her out. She has helped me a lot. Also has become kind of one of my mentors, whether she knows it or not. Definitely has helped me out on my journey as well. I figured I would shout out a couple people who have helped me on my journey since I'm doing baby witch tips today. So go show those ladies some love. Your Spiritual Mermaid definitely does some readings. She gives very uplifting spiritual advice. She's very, very cool. So go check them both out. Okay, guys, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into these 5 baby witch tips. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I am and do consider myself a baby witch. I say consciously have been practicing witchcraft for a couple years now, year and a half, a couple years now, something like that, year and a half, couple years. I say consciously because I really do think that I personally feel like I've been a witch pretty much my whole life, just didn't really know it. I've always had a connection with nature, always have had a connection with animals. Not that you have to do those things to be a witch, but definitely is part of my practice now as a witch. But I've definitely been doing a lot of these things my whole life, just didn't really realize it was kind of alternative spirituality, as I refer to it as. I definitely was raised Christian in the Lutheran Church. I stopped referring to myself as a Christian a very, very long time ago, around high school, college. And I personally stopped believing in God before I started practicing witchcraft. Some witches do believe in the Christian God and work with angels and Mary, the Virgin Mary, and things like that. That's not really my path, but definitely left Christianity, joined the occult, and here I am. Even though I've been practicing consciously practicing for a couple of years now, I still refer to myself as a baby witch. It's just not that long. Still a witch nonetheless. I refer to myself as a witch. I'm not going around saying baby witch every time. But yeah, I think I refer to myself as a baby witch because I know so many witches that I look up to who have been practicing like their entire life since they were a child. So I don't really feel comfortable saying that I'm, yes, a very experienced witch, because I'm not. So anyway, I figured as a baby witch and as someone who has been practicing witchcraft, paganism, alternative spirituality, consciously for a couple of years now, I figured I would go ahead and give some baby witch tips to baby witches who are really just freshly starting out, and kind of let you know what I've learned as a baby witch in my first year of practicing consciously. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with tip number 1. Tip number 1: don't let gatekeepers fool you. Okay, if you're not familiar with the term gatekeeper, it's kind of like slang term for people who are very preachy, people who are very judgmental, people who are part of a community who say you can only be part of this community if you're XYZ, right? Don't let gatekeepers fool you, and be careful who you look up to. I would say personally, in my experience, I've only come across one gatekeeper person in the pagan witchy community. So far in my experience, I've been very lucky and fortunate. I want to be careful saying that, oh, this community is so, in my experience, it is the most loving, open-minded, and accepting community I've ever personally been a part of. However, I want to be careful saying that it is that, because other people might have had different experiences with it, or are having different experiences with it. So let me know down below what your experience has been, and if you've experienced a lot of gatekeeping behavior in the witchy pagan community. I personally have it, and I've talked to a few other witches as well about it, and they personally really haven't either. Again, maybe like 1 or 2 douchebags out there, you know. But not a lot, not nearly as many, at least for me, as other communities that I've been a part of, for sure. So be careful when you hear people saying things like, oh, well, you're only a witch if you do this, or you're only a pagan if you act like that, or things like that, right? Definitely need to be careful, like I said, who you look up to, because a good mentor is going to support you, okay? A good mentor is going to be honest with you and be a great teacher for you, but they're going to support you and encourage you, right? They're not going to put you down because you're into chaos magic, or they're not going to put you down because you're going down a path that's like very eclectic and no one else has really done it, and they say, well, that's not a thing, you can't do that. No, don't listen to that. That's gatekeeping, okay? You need a mentor who's not only been practicing a lot longer than you, I feel. You need a mentor who's also going to support you and encourage you to be you, authentic you, and to have your authentic, unique witchy path, right? And that's another thing too, is every witch has their own path, right? Yes, like members of the occult will do very similar things. Like a lot of us love to do candle magic. A lot of us love to work with herbs. A lot of us love to work with scrying or different things like that, right? But every witch, every individual witch has their own unique practice and has their own unique path, okay? For example, I kind of think of it as like fingerprints, right? Like, well, it kind of just now popped into my head, but I think of it as fingerprints in the sense that, like, yeah, we all have fingerprints and they all look like a bunch of lines and everything, but no pattern is the same. You know what I mean? So there might be some similarities there, but every witch has a unique path. And don't let anyone tell you that your witchy path isn't witchy enough or whatever. That's just silly, okay? Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to tip number 2. So my second tip is anyone can be a witch. Anyone can be a witch. It doesn't matter, okay? And those gatekeeping people out there are probably, I might get some comments on this one or on this whole video, I'm not sure, but anyone can be a witch, okay? You don't have to be, you don't have to be a woman. You don't. You don't have to be anti-Christian if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable with that. You don't have to work with deities if you don't want to. You don't have to do black magic if you don't want to. You don't have to be a certain type of person to be a witch, okay? If you are open-minded to it and you feel called to it, do it, okay? Or at least dabble in it and see if it's for you, right? There's nothing wrong with experimenting and seeing what path is right for you. I mean, I experimented with different spiritualities, but definitely have felt that calling to this path, you know? And so therefore it suits me the best out of any spirituality practice or alternative spirituality or any, even just other spirituality or religions like Christianity. It's my pagan witchy path has served me much more than any other spiritual path I've ever taken. So I call myself a witch. I definitely have had experience. This kind of goes hand in hand with the gatekeeper thing, but I definitely have had an experience with the one gatekeepy person that I've come across in this community. Me personally, and again, I'm sure there's probably more out there. I'm not saying he's the only one. I'm just saying, in my experience, the only one I've come across, told me that you're only a witch if your menstrual cycle lines up with the full moon. Really stupid, honestly. Some people do work with their menstrual cycle. Some witches do work with the phases of the moon and have that crossover and want their menstrual cycle to be aligned or whatever. And that's great. That's totally cool. But not all witches' menstrual cycles line up with the full moon. Okay? Anyway, anyone can be a witch. Your menstrual cycle does not have to line up with the full moon. You don't even have to have a menstrual cycle, guys, girls, anything in between. You do not. If you want to be a witch and you want to learn more about it and you want to walk down that path, then do it. Do it. Do it. I'm just kidding. But seriously, do it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next tip. All right, so my next tip, number 3, don't worry too much at first on what kind of witch you are. I feel like I remember when I first started consciously dabbling in witchcraft, and I felt so much pressure to put a label on myself as to what kind of witch I am, right? And when you start doing research on this, you will come across hundreds, if not thousands, of different kinds of witches. There are so many different kinds out there. I mean, kitchen witches, green witches, hearth witches, chaos witches, elemental witches. I mean, you name it, it's out there, guys. I personally now feel comfortable with the label animal witch, but I personally pull from all kinds of things. I also consider myself to be a green witch. I also consider myself to be a water witch or a sea witch, even though I'm landlocked. I pull from all different types of things. And personally, I've done a bunch of research. I can't really find anyone else who specifically labels himself as animal witch. And that's another thing too. Like, if you can't find the label you're comfortable with out there, who cares? Be authentic you. That's cool. That's badass. If you're the only type of witch that, like, that label that you're comfortable with, that's cool. Make it, manifest it, girl. Like, make that shit happen. That's cool. But like I said, I personally can't find anyone else who labels themselves an animal witch. They're probably out there. I just haven't found it. Please correct me down below if you know someone who labels himself as such. Again, if not, though, and if I'm the only one who labels myself as an animal witch, I'm cool with that. Like, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't make me feel like it's inauthentic. That doesn't make me feel like, oh, am I not witchy enough because there's no one else? No! Like, I used to feel that way when I first started practicing, but now I'm like, no. Like, that's what I am. That's what I am. And I can do a whole other video on how or why I identify as an animal witch. Like, some people tend to ask, because there's not a lot of information out there. Like I said, I can't find any really on specifically animal witches. But if you want any more information or are curious to know more about that, and how or why I call myself an animal witch, then I would be glad to do that. But I'm not going to really dive into it right now. I was also going to say with this point that, or with this tip, that when you start out your witchy journey, you really need to start learning just one thing at a time, right? There's so much out there, specifically the different types, what kinds of witches. There are, like I said, there are so many different types out there. You will get overwhelmed if you want to know that right away. It'll come to you, okay? Start slow. Start learning about things that you're interested in the most, right? Like, are you really interested in working with candles? Are you really interested in meditating? Are you really interested in making sigils? Start there. Just start with one thing, learn about it, feel pretty confident about it, and then start learning about something else. And just slowly start adding on to your witchy path. I don't know, building blocks. I don't know what this is. But anyway, I feel like in the beginning when I first started, I felt like I had to know right away. I had to know what kind of witch I was right away. I had to know what I was interested in right away. I had to know all the facts right away. And it's just like, that's so ridiculous and so absurd and so impossible. I finally realized, like, whoa, I need to slow down. I need to learn more, right? I can't learn everything all at once. And as I've gone down my path and down my journey, I've really learned that, yeah, I think I am an animal witch. And I think I'm a green witch too. And I think I'm an earth witch and a water witch and a blah, blah, blah witch and a blah, blah, blah witch. But most of all, I think I'm an animal witch. And you know what? 2 years from now, 10 years from now down my path, that could totally change. I could be a fucking demonologist for all I know 10 years from now. You know what I mean? Like, and that's fine too. I also know about myself and everyone that we are never done learning, right? We're never done growing. We're never done changing. I hope you're not. You should always be changing and learning and growing. That's part of life. That's part of becoming a better person, about becoming a better witch, right? It's like being open-minded and learning and gaining as much knowledge as you can. So anyway, there's nothing wrong with not knowing what kind of magic or what kind of witchcraft you are or want to do right away. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll come to you. Just be patient, okay? All right, let's go to the next thing. All right, guys, number 4. Don't think you have to know everything right away, okay? So, again, similar to the last thing was more specifically what kind of witch, but this is just more generally, like, there are so many things about witchcraft and paganism out there, and so many different interpretations, and so many different facts, and so many different theories, and so many different famous witches and covens, and I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. You don't have to know everything right away to be considered a witch. It's okay. I feel like when I first started out, I keep saying I feel like I know. I was there, it was me. I know that when I first started out, I felt like, oh crap, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about astrology. I don't know anything about herbs. I don't know anything about... And that made me feel like I wasn't witchy enough. Definitely don't let that pressure get to you, okay? Because we're human, and there are bajillions of things out there related to the occult. I mean, or magic, or alternative spirituality, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're dabbling in, there are 1,000 bajillion things out there. And it's very overwhelming. I don't know everything about it. I know other witches who have been practicing for years and years and years and years and years, they don't know everything about things. And that's okay. That's also part of growing, is accepting that you don't know everything. And no one's expecting you to know everything. The only person who's putting that pressure on you is yourself. And maybe those gatekeeping douchebags out there, but screw them, right? You don't have to know everything, okay? Again, start one step at a time. Just start with one topic at a time. That's what I eventually realized is like, okay, I'm getting very overwhelmed. I can't retain all this information at once, so I'm just going to start slowly with one thing and add on to it, right? So I don't even remember what I first started. I mean, I first started dabbling in tarot for sure. That I'm still learning a lot about too. I finally realized like I just need to start out with one subject at a time. Like, do you love crystals? Okay. Well, awesome. Start researching crystals. Start researching crystals for properties that I'm sorry, it's very, very rainy and windy out here right now, so if it's loud, I apologize. But start researching different properties you would want a crystal to have, right? Because again, there's so many different crystals and stones and minerals out there that you might even get overwhelmed with even just that one subject. So just start small. Start as small as you can and let it grow, okay? And just keep adding on to your knowledge. I promise you, it's gonna work out better for you, okay? Be patient. Just be patient with yourself, okay? Again, it's been almost a couple years since I consciously started practicing, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And there are times even now too that I have to stop and be like, wow, whoa. I'm trying to cram all this information into my brain. And when you cram, it's like, yeah, you might remember for that test 10 minutes from now, right? If you cram to try to study for a test, but you're not going to remember it after the test, right? Like I want to absorb knowledge and turn it into wisdom. Like I want to hold this knowledge in me and be able to apply it in everyday life and in my practice, right? I don't want to just know it for a second. Be patient, right? Just be patient with yourself. You'll get there. You'll learn it. And then you'll feel, in the long run, you'll feel way more confident because you'll really have that knowledge, right? And you've applied it and practiced with it over and over again, right? Then you'll really start to feel witchy once you get that knowledge and turn it into wisdom, right? Okay, guys, let's move on to the last tip. Woo, it's windy. Okay, guys, number 5. Find a good mentor if you're feeling overwhelmed, okay? I've said it a few times in this video, but I'll say it again. When starting out, especially, it's very easy to feel very overwhelmed. Find someone that you really, really trust and that is very knowledgeable in that specific area of your practice that you're trying to get to know, and reach out to them. First, if they have a YouTube or an Instagram or anything like that, I would go through their content first. So go through their content first, see if they have specific videos on subjects that you're trying to figure out, right? And if you really like their style and you really think you jive with them really well, then maybe try reaching out to them and just being like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm a new witch starting out. Like, I'm looking for people that I can jive with, and you seem really cool. You might also find a mentor that you don't really reach out to that much, and you feel very connected to them through their readings on YouTube, or you feel very connected to them through the book that they wrote that you just read, right? You can call someone a mentor without knowing them really personally. I mean, and I personally think, like, you can definitely have a mentor who is there for you. They might just not know it. But if you do find a witch who's been practicing for years and years and who is willing to work with you personally and for free, lucky you. Lucky you. That's amazing. I've been pretty lucky with that too. I've found a couple of people that I can reach out to whenever I want. I mean, I don't pester them, I don't bother them, right? A lot of it is very personal and you have to gain the knowledge on your own. But if you are feeling very overwhelmed and you don't really know what to do with the information that you have, and you are kind of looking for some personal, how do you do this type of advice, then yeah, finding a witch who's willing to work with you personally is amazing. But again, you can definitely find a mentor through witchy authors who write books. I'm almost done. Through tarot readers on IGTV, through tarot readers on YouTube, through different witches on YouTube. Definitely, for sure. So anyway, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this baby witch tips from another baby witch. I also have an Instagram, Abby the Witch, just like it is here. I do tarot card readings over there on my IGTV if you're interested in that. And until next time, guys, I hope you stay well. Thank you. Bye.